And we're live. Tom Levecki here with the latest edition of the Armchair NBA. I'm about to introduce my esteemed guest, but before I do, I just want to say a few quick words. We had a live yesterday. It was intended to be the Four Horsemen. For those that saw it, it got way out of hand, and I was made aware of two things today that I did not pick up last night. There was a lot of chaos, a lot of talking, over each other, and there's two people that were things were said about that were off color and inappropriate. It's my show. I am owning it, and I want to send an exterior apology. Sorry, and sincere apology to Josie Lee. I've never had the pleasure of meeting her. I saw her show a few times, and nevertheless, it's not about what the intent was, it's how it made her feel. So, a guest that I had on the show said something inappropriate. I apologize to Josie while she was doing a live earlier. I actually had to do a personal matter before having this new guest come on. We chatted a little bit just now. So, I want to extend a personal and sincere, heartfelt, I'm sorry, on behalf of myself, and I can speak for the other four horsemen, other three horsemen. Number two, Shauna, who is FBS's Chris's wife. Some things were said about her. And I talked to Chris earlier. I apologize to him. I haven't spoken to her, but if she sees this or Chris sees this, I want to apologize on behalf of the guys and myself, a sincere apology. So we're going to have Jeff Nadu on, who I want to, I am, and Barstool came out with something, again, controversial today, but I'm a big Barstool guy. I followed Jeff over the years. Jeff has a lot going on outside of the mob space, but he also has a great podcast. He's doing some great things. We're doing this interview style, so I'm going to interview him. If you have any questions, kind of hold off. Feel free to put some comments in. But if you have any questions, hold off. We'll do a Q&A. And then, if appropriate, we may have somebody chime in live. Jeff Nadu, welcome to the Armchair NBA. How you doing today, buddy?
Great. Good to see you, Tom. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. So, I did some apologies. Things got a little out of hand, but I want to kind of get the podcast back on track and focus on creating superior content. So, Jeff, a lot of people outside of the Barstool space, well, the Barstool space, you're known, right? Gambling space, you're known. In the mob space, you're known, you're kind of getting there, right? First, who is Jeff Nadu? Where did you grow up? And tell us about your formative years and what makes you you.
Yeah. So, and Tom, it's really great to chop it up with you. I always enjoy talking to you guys, whether it's you or Vinny or whoever. Very good things you said at the beginning. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. So I am from the Philadelphia area. I grew up in a town in a city called Lancaster. It's a place that a lot of people don't know a ton about. They just know because of the Amish. But my family, my mother and father are from the city itself. My grandparents lived on the same street their entire life. It's a real blue collar city. It's a city that is filled with immigrants, especially where they lived. And I grew up there. I went to Catholic church. That's just how I grew up. Very family oriented. I fell in love with sports at an early age. I've always been someone that enjoyed basketball and the different sports. And when I turned 18, I actually had some connections to Philadelphia, and I moved to South Philly. I lived in South Philly for years. Met a lot of good people. I met a guy that taught me the sports betting game, really taught me the ins and outs of not to be a sucker and how to spot things. And I really just went from there. I've always been someone that wanted to make a future out of this. And then I started getting into media, and I can get into that if you want. But
please.
Yeah, so I've been on Twitter. That was really the first thing I started doing. Back in 2009, I opened a Twitter account.
Oh, wow.
And I've been on there ever since. And the goal was always to just have an outlet to talk about sports and to get people, that want betting opinions. And then in like 2011, 2012, the content like podcast group started where you could get apps, Tom, and you could do podcasts.
Yeah.
And my father told me about it. He's like, why don't you get a podcast, do some sort of content? So I started doing content, and, one thing led to another. The goal was always to just get my word out there. But then it was, okay, how can I get paid to do this? And then how can I eventually, kind of just continue to move up. And before I knew it, I was at Barstool and making a living off of it.
Interesting. So, okay, so you were more okay. So you got into sports gambling. Were you like a big gambler yourself? And if so, did you kind of have like that wrong where like you went broke and you got back, or were you always even keel? I want to know kind of like when you started gambling and what your experience.
Yeah, I mean, I've been gambling probably. I think I made my first bet when I was 7 or 8 years old. I mean, I've been betting forever. I've always had a thing for numbers, statistics. I've always been a lot older than I am. I
Yeah.
remember my mother and father would tell me as a kid, when I was, super young, like I was watching sports and the news and the Weather Channel and all this stuff. I never really enjoyed the little kid shit. But yeah, I started gambling super young, and then once I got to like 6th grade, 7th grade, I started playing football pools and taking bets. And then before you know it, I'm in high school and I'm gambling pretty heavy every week on the NFL. And it started out, $25 bets, $25 reverses, things like that.
Yeah.
I can't say I ever went broke. I don't have the compulsive gambling gene, Tom.
Yeah.
I sports bet, play poker. That's about it. I don't play table games. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. So for me, it was initially just for fun, and then it became a business, and it's a value thing. It's not about nachos on the couch. It's about, do I have value and a winnable edge?
Now, that's a key in sports gambling is that edge. And what do you have to be at 50, like 5 to 50,
54%.
54%. Okay. Now, my question is when you started gambling until now, as you evolve, were you a data guy? Were you a gut guy? Were you, like have your own system and formula? And what was that in the beginning, and how did that kind of migrate to where you are now?
Yeah, I'm pretty much kind of an old school gambler. It's very much in the pro end about the number itself. What numbers being put out there. Where the public's betting. Where smart people are betting. But college is really my specialty. That's more for me, just about being able to retain information on. In college basketball, Tom, there are 357 Division I basketball teams.
Wow.
My goal is to know one thing about everyone. So for me, it's about schematics, how a team plays against another. Very simple things like if you run a zone, a team's going to be able to shoot over a zone. Pretty simple things. But I look a lot into. I spend a lot of time watching things and learning and reading, and it's a mix of everything. It's not just analytics. It's just a middle thing of everything, really.
Now, I was once told that with sports gambling, it's not about the teams; it's about the handicapper trying to find like a holes or overexposure, underexposure in their analysis versus necessarily the teams itself. Is that true, or walk me through that?
Yeah, and when it comes to the NFL, for instance, the NBA, I've exclusively always just bet numbers. It's not really about the teams themselves. It's really about more the number. So it's also about recency bias. The normal bettor remembers just what he saw the last week. So a prime example would be tonight. The New York Jets are playing the Colts. The last thing a bettor saw was an unknown quarterback called Mike White come in and throw for 405 yards. Well, look, the truth of the matter was against the Bengals, that was a really tough spot for the Bengals. They were off a huge win. It was a letdown game. They played like it. You have a Colts team that's found trouble in winning games and just kind of scooting out. They're laying a double-digit number tonight. There's a reason for that. So for me, it's really about going against what I think everyone else is doing, and it's very much always about the number, particularly in the NFL, the NBA, that kind of stuff.
So you got into sports gambling, and let's be honest, at the time, because you're a little younger than me, but when growing up, if you got into the sports gambling game, there's kind of a negative connotation with it. You're a little younger than me. Was that connotation still, around where you're like the black sheep guy? What are you doing with your life, or did you have support?
No, my family's always been real supportive of me, and no, I think initially, you say, what do you do? I'm a gambler, or I'm doing this. Yeah, I think initially it was tough, just because it is a backroom kind of mysterious kind of thing. I mean, I've had, funny enough, like still to this day, like if I go out with a girl or something, right, and we kind of get to talking to what I do, she'll make a question of like, oh, so you're a bookie. I've had, you're in the Mafia, like all that kind of shit. And it's no, not at all. I'm just someone that likes numbers and sports. And no. But yeah, it's gotten a lot better with legalization and it
Yeah.
becoming so into our lives.
Now, you obviously were gambling for a while. Just to give some advice for people that they have the legal apps now, or they have their book. What should if let's say you have a bankroll, what should your average bet be? Percentage of that bankroll, or that given day or weekend. Walk us through kind of the cash management aspect of sports gambling.
Yeah, that's one thing, Tom, that I've always said. You want to bet responsibly. There
Yeah.
you can get into real trouble. I
Yep.
think one thing I always learned was I came up betting on the local bookmakers, like through apps and stuff,
Yeah.
which they were controlled by bookmakers. So,
Yeah.
you would get an amount you could bet. You'd have to pay that every week.
Yeah.
And I've seen some people get into some real trouble with credit books. But
Yep.
the good thing about the apps is you have to have the money to put it on the app.
Yep.
So I would always just say this, I'll never tell another man how to spend their money, but
Yeah.
I think you really just need to learn that you don't have to bet because it's on TV. That's the difference, I think, between winning and losing gamblers. They bet just for action or because it's on TV. You need an edge. It's your money. So you just need to remember that. Some people get into it. They have these pipe dreams. They're going to get a big parlay to hit or some sort of lottery ticket. It's just not something. This is not easy to do. So you have to just kind of recognize that it's a sprint. It's a
marathon, not a sprint.
marathon, not a sprint. So
yeah.
what's
the one or two most common or even most common mistake that kind of amateur bettors make that you see all the time and you're just like, if you just wake up?
Well, now the industry is so diluted. I mean, there's so many people that just shouldn't talk about. I mean, it's similar to this genre, frankly.
Yeah.
But I would say that what I said earlier, just not, most gamblers bet when they have an edge, not because it's something on TV or whatever. Thinking things matter that don't, looking at trends that happened 10 years ago, that they mean nothing. Those are different teams, different coaches, different everything. Teasers, parlays, that kind of stuff, they're just not EV positive wagers.
Yeah, I think they're gimmicky anyway. All right, so then you're doing this for a little bit, doing well, and then again, where I kind of stumbled upon you prior to MobTube, if you will, was Barstool Sports. How do they find you, and how did that kind of roll out?
Yeah, so I'd always been close to certain people there. A guy, Big Cat, I've been close to him for a while. I used to give him picks all the time, college basketball, things like that. And this was like 2017. He contacted me and said, "Hey, would you want to come up and talk to Dave about some of your ideas?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll go up." This had been before PASPA was passed, so there was no legalized gambling or anything. I went up to their old office and I walked in, I sat down with Dave. He liked what I was doing, but they weren't really in a position to bring any gambling people on. So we kind of just made the introduction. I met some people and they actually offered me a contract in 2019. I declined it just because of I was in a situation where I was just making a good amount of money. I didn't really want to give it up. And they wanted me to move to New York City, which I wasn't really wanting to do at the time.
Yeah.
So we kind of lost touch and then we rekindled something around right before the pandemic, actually.
Yeah, right before,
yeah. And they offered me a contract. We had something kind of that we agreed on. And I had agreed to start on Selection Sunday of 2020.
Oh, wow.
And that week, I remember I went up to New York, Tom, and I'm sitting there. And the next day, I think the day I went up there, it was a Monday. The first case of coronavirus had been reported in New York City. I always remember it was a young girl. She's in her 20s. And I remember going up there and it was a weird feeling because we didn't know if things were going to get shut down, what would happen. And by the end of it, it ended up happening that week and we had to push it off until later that year. And then eventually I got hired and that was that. But I'd been in the Barstool ecosystem for a long time.
What, I remember though, and again, typical Barstool fashion, you weren't only like, hey, I'm a good bettor. You were a talent. Was that the game plan or you like developed into talent?
Well, I've always had like certain ways of delivering my information. I've always been quite abrasive and a bit willing to have conversation with people. I also had a beef with someone that worked there, which made it a little bit more in the forefront. And the guy that I have a beef with is very close with Dave. So I
Yeah.
think Dave always got a kick out of it. But no, I mean, when you go to Barstool, the ability to do whatever you want is there. So
Yeah.
I knew I was going to do gambling stuff. I had a basketball podcast there. But I actually had a sit down idea a long time ago, and I had wanted to kind of get into that space. But when you're a Barstool, you can do whatever you want. So I looked at it as, just kind of a chance to do whatever. And I had worked so many years to get to that kind of point. So I was excited about it.
Nice. So at that point, you went in as talent, you went in as a gambling guy. You had obviously some challenges there, but you had a pretty good run because you were, on Dave, you were Nadu. What was it? Do?
Yeah, he had a name for me to do. Yeah. He got a kick out of what we were doing and what I was doing.
Yeah.
The problem that I had there, and like I said, it was a challenge for a lot of people. When
Yeah.
I was hired for remote. Like I was a remote employee, so I wasn't someone that had to be there every day.
Correct.
And I was there in the middle of that pandemic, right? So like I live 2.5 hours away on the train. I can get to New York on a train, but it's like trains were shut down. And it was just a really hard environment just because I couldn't get up there a lot. But I was going to we were doing gambling streams in Philadelphia and doing all this stuff. And it was a fun experience. I still am connected with them today. They've always been super fair and super cool to me. Dave's always been a straight shooter. I think he respects what I do and what I'm about. And they've always been cool to me. So I was excited about it, and I feel like he always enjoyed me. So
what was your biggest learning, I guess, business wise, by working at a bigger company like Barstool?
Yeah, I think when you're me, like I'm 32, I'm not, a kid right out of college that really need, like for me, I go where the money is. And Barstool was a great place to be, but there were some challenges that were presented that I just didn't think I could get past as far as elevating myself there. And I've always been in a situation where if it's not there for me, and let's say I don't get an offer from somebody, I can always do my own thing, right? I can always go the sports betting route. I can always create content and have multiple income streams. So for me, leaving a company like that was difficult because I enjoy it and I liked it, but I just know long term that I could do other things and be okay.
So, all right. So then you also lost a lot of weight.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
So give us kind of like, your peak, if you will, your old lifestyle. And then what was that teachable moment where just something went off? They said, you know what, shit, I got to get healthier.
Well, it's actually, I think back to that week I was at Barstool, the week of the pandemic. I on basically March 15th, I was 343 pounds in 2020. Shit. And I remember going up there and at Barstool, when you film something, you do radio or whatever, it's all videoed as well.
Yeah.
And I remember I got home that night and, it's you just sit on a train, but it's like I was so tired. I was so wiped out. And I sat my phone and I was just looking at it and I thought to myself, wow, I gotta do something about my life. Like I'm out of control, And for me, Tom, I had always had the moniker big man on campus. So I had kind of just accepted I was who I was.
Yeah.
I feel like, that big, fat, kind of, slicked haired, like, better is just like, that's the norm. That's what they look like. Right. So I kind of just accepted it literally. And I had a girlfriend at the time. It was crazy. I still look at it and I wonder how she was into me. She was beautiful, great girl. And she accepted me. And I was just like, I got to the point where it was like, you know what? I got to do this for me. And I got to change my ways myself. And I just had a ton of time on my hands. And I went out and I just started walking. I started intermittent fasting. And, as of today, I'm 217 pounds. So
God bless.
It's and I'm getting ready to fight. So yeah, it was the best thing I ever did. It was a huge mountain I had to climb and I did it.
So intermittent fasting, what are you doing? 16 off, 8, or taking a few days off?
No, I do 20 and 4.
Whoa.
So I eat 4 hours out of the day and I fast for 20. So basically my schedule is I eat between 3 and 7. I eat something really light at 3, generally like peanut butter or something along those lines. And then I work out. I'm now working out in the morning. So I actually do fasted cardio now. I eat around 3 and then I eat at like 6:30. I usually have some sort of heavy salad, some sort of chicken.
When you shut down at 8?
No, once I'm done dinner, I don't eat again until 3 the next day. So the only thing I consume is water and black coffee. That's all I.
Black coffee, yeah. So okay, so you separate from Barstool. Did you have your revenue stream set up, or were you like, oh shit, you know what? Like I have to like get this going. I want to get a feel for.
Yeah, in the space that I'm in, there are so many companies that are always looking for good content people, and I've always made good relationships over the years. And the day I left Barstool, I think it was late February. Like 2 days later, I had a company reach out to me, and they paid me really good money to do some college basketball and NBA content, really through the end of the summer, which bridged me right to football. And by that point, I had everything set up again, and now I'm really content with everything I do. I have some content I'm doing for a website. I have my own Patreon. I have the sit down. I have all these different ways that I can make money. So I'm really content at this point. And this life has allowed me to stay on a stream until 3 a.m, or get into shape, right?
Yeah.
So a normal person, it's hard for them to lose weight because they got to go to work. They got kids, they got a life. And by the time you get up from work, you're so tired. I was able every day to take an hour from 4 to 5 and dedicate it to my health. But this took a long time. Like it takes so long to build a following. And that's why some of these cats on YouTube, like I give them a lot of credit, because if you can continue to build, it's not easy to create a following.
Yeah.
I have 30,000+ followers on Twitter, and that's taken me a long fucking time to get to, But if you have a product that people like, you can do it a lot quicker. But yeah, it's I'm happy and content with my life because I decide what I do. I don't have a boss. I don't have, hey, you can't eat lunch at this time, or I'm really content with everything. I look at myself weirdly enough. I always go back to this scene, but at the end of Casino, if you've ever seen the end where De Niro's sitting in his office and he says, now I'm back where I was, I can always handicap sports, and he's just content. He's by himself, but his life is a lot more, content and easy now. And that's how my life is. Like Barstool's still there. It's in the background and everything. But I always told myself this year I was going to start kind of really trying to do other things. And I'm really happy with what I'm doing and where I am. So
nice. So, which brings us to, for those that are mobologists watching in the mob space, tell us a little bit about the podcast, why you did it, and give us a little bit about like kind of the foundation.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by, the gangster organized crime thing. I remember, I think I've talked to, it was maybe Fatball Sicilian about this. I remember years ago in the mall, there was this guy that would make these shirts that would have all these gangsters on them. And I'd watch the films and I'd read the books. And I remember I read The Last Gangster by George Anastasia. And I just had always been fascinated about a mob. The Sopranos would be on my house every Sunday night. And I find myself, super young watching it. And I remember senior year of high school, Tom, 2007 was the year The Sopranos went off the air.
Yeah.
And I remember the finale was the same week I was at senior week in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I remember my mother and father, I told them, when you come down here to pick me up, because we had a house at the time, they came down at the end of it. I said, you better record that on tape and bring it to me, because we didn't have HBO at the time down there. And I remember I watched it on VHS. And I remember when the screen went black, I did what everyone else did. Yeah, I said, Mom, you turned it. You didn't record the whole thing. I'm just a kid. I'm a teenager at that point. But I'd always just been fascinated by the mob, and I'd always wanted to do a show like this, and I kind of just got it together and put it on iTunes, and we're 31 episodes in. It's been very successful. We continue to grow with it, and my whole thing is, and I've told you this, I think the goal on, if you're ever doing content, you have to have multiple areas that the content's at. Yes. So you need a Twitter account, you need a YouTube channel, you need a platform on iTunes or a Spotify, because the only thing advertisers care about is podcast downloads.
Yes.
Right. So
impressions.
Yeah. So I'm working with a company now that they didn't ask me about you. They didn't ask me about any of that. They just said, how many downloads do you get an episode? I sent them my numbers, and that was that. So, it's important that you have multiple ways because you always want to get your name out there. And when I saw the mob tube stuff, I remember I saw Lee and I knew Jeff Canarsie and some of those people, and I knew that I had to get a part of my audience from there as well, right? So, that's kind of what brought me to this. But
nice.
Now,
Now,
there's so much you have to do with all that.
well, in terms of the mob podcasting space, there's a little bit of a duality. You got stuff on iTunes. You got Mafia. You got Joe Pistones. I forget the name of that. You have yourself. Yeah, that is bigger on the audio platform, right? And then you got MobTube. What type of person is watching MobTube, and one type of person is maybe just exclusive on audio iTunes?
Yeah, it's funny because I don't think I've ever encountered someone on Twitter, right, that listens to my show and says, "Hey, I love this show." Like, I don't think anyone's ever come and said, "Hey," like there are probably people that have found me from YouTube, but like I feel like they don't intersect. Like Twitter and the iTunes don't intersect with MobTube, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a different group where I think a lot of the people that we see on MobTube, like they talk about whether it's the informant angle or whatever. Our goal is we want to get the history aspect. We want to find one person each week and tell their story. So whether it was John Franzese or Tony Accardo or Tony Ducks, or we've done all the heavy hitters, Lucky, John Gott, like all these guys. And we don't really have any nonsense. We just get into a biography, try to tell you something you didn't know. That's the biggest thing for me. Because all this info, like we all know John Gotti had Castellano killed in front of Sparks. We know, Tony Salerno was out of the Palma Boys, but we want to tell you something that maybe you didn't know. So, I don't know if it goes hand in hand. I kind of put myself into the same audience as like OC Shorts and Black Handprint and those guys. Not that I don't think all of them are great or whatever, but I think I'm just a bit different from maybe some of the MobTube guys.
Now, the shows that you did, what show are you most proud of so far? For somebody who hasn't listened to your show yet, what episode do they need to check out first?
Yeah, I would say the best episode I think we've done was Tony Salerno, which I think we put a lot of time into. Kabani Savage was one we did that that's probably, if you ask me like what my favorite thing to talk about is Philadelphia. I enjoy the stuff from this city that I know about. But all the episodes we put a lot of time. The Sonny Franzese episode was good. Just all of them. We put the same care into all of them.
Okay, so you now have that. We'll put a link below. But once you're out, they pull you back in. You're back doing a rough and rowdy boxing match.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. I believe I was actually watching either live or when it was first run, where Jersey Jerry and you and Dave pretty much brokered a fight, and you I thought you'd be like, I ain't doing this shit. You're doing it. So walk us through that.
Yes, this was just a random Sunday night. It was about a month and a half ago. It was like mid-September, late September. I'm sitting on Twitter at night. I see Dave post a tweet where Jerry's whining to him about a bet that he should have won because the ref got the thing wrong. And I just commented and said, is this guy serious? Like, is he really complaining about this shit? And he just calls me out. Like, hey, then fight me a rough and rowdy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, like whatever. So the next day, I got Dave's guy reaches out to me and says, hey, can you come on the Portnoy show? We want to talk to you and Jerry about this fight. We go on, we have our thing, we hash shit out. And then Dave contacted me and said, hey, are you actually serious? Do you actually want to fight? If so, what's your number? And for anyone that doesn't know, I have a beef with a guy there called Rico.
Yes.
And a year and a half ago, we were offered $350,000 to fight. That was the purse.
Total purse, right?
Yeah, we were offered that to fight.
Oops.
And he declined. I accepted. He declined. And so I went to Dave and I'm like, give me the same offer. And he goes, that ain't going to happen. I said, okay, well, offer me something. And then we kind of went back and forth and we agreed on it. And so, yeah, I've been training for going on a month now, and we have another 5 weeks until the fight, and I'm very excited about it.
I got a text while we were on. So what odds do you give yourself? Well, just reading. If he were the odds maker, since he thinks he's going to win, would the line be Tomato Head minus 250, underdog plus 175?
Yeah. Well, so the thing about this fight that I think has to be talked about is any boxer can fight, right? They have tape on their opponent.
Puncher's chance too.
Yeah, I know nothing about my opponent at all. So, he's a tough kid. I know that. He's a bit smaller than me. I know he's a little bit undersized. I'm not a big guy either. I'm only 5'7.5", 5'8".
Yeah.
But I will say that my cardio is really good. I've worked hard on that over the last 16, 18 months. I can see a total difference in the way I fight now. I think anyone thinks they know how to fight until you get into the gym. And I remember the first day I went into the gym, I was talking shit, and my trainer said to me, he goes, all right, let's go in the ring. He goes, see if you can hit me. We'll dance around for a minute, see if you can hit me. And it's really tough. It's a lot tougher than you think. And I look at my original video, and I look 3-4 weeks later, I'm a totally different fighter. I know how to move. I know how to throw punches. I know how to stand. I know how to bounce. I know how to duck. So everything is really coming together. As far as a line, I don't know. I'd put it at 110, 110. I don't think we have any idea. I'm going to give my all. I'm content with whatever happens, to be real honest. I don't know anything about my opponent. He could be a Golden Gloves. I don't know. I hope he doesn't sandbag me like that, but it's a great experience for me. I'm going to do really well money-wise with it. It's going to promote me a lot. And, whatever happens for me happens.
Now, in terms of the training, right? Because if this was a normal fight and you have a normal trainer, they will train you to fight a boxer, right? But since more than likely this guy's an amateur and doesn't have much experience, does that affect your training, or do you still train to be a boxer? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've been training. I remember as well, one thing that I made sure of when I went in there, when we had that conversation about hit me, see if you can hit me. Yeah. I knew my trainer, he's a real fighter, right? So I knew that my opponent was probably not going to be him. And he told me, they said, you don't know what he's going to be. You have to train as if this is a real opponent, a real fighter. You could get hurt here. So you have to really, but yeah, I train like a boxer. I train just like anyone else would. Yeah. It's no headgear. It's only 3 rounds a minute a piece. It's not anything crazy, but this isn't about my opponent, Tom, to be real honest. This is about me and what all I've done the last a year and a half, losing all this weight. It's really a challenge for me inside to do it. And it really is a big fuck you to all the people that were an asshole to me. I want to win for those people because they don't want to see me win. Yeah. And so all these people that say, oh, they're just doing it for money or whatever. Money's cool and all, but now I want to actually win.
Got it. Now, so you said it's December 10th, you said?
Yeah, it's December 10th. It's in West Virginia, Charleston. It's something people can go to. It'll be sold out. It is on pay-per-view as well, though. You can buy it, buyrnr.com. It's actually 20 fights that night. We're the main event. There's some real good fights as well. You got midgets fighting. You got women fighting. You got all sorts of great storylines. And, it's crazy, Tom, about Rough and Rowdy is there are fighters that have become, like, really popular because of their success at Rough and Rowdy. So, there's guys that are undefeated. They've never lost. It's great. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be a fun event.
Nice. And then is Dave Portnoy going to be there? Doesn't he actually officiate?
Dave actually is the ring announcer. So it's Dave, Big Cat, and then another guy. They have sideline people. They have everything. And as I've said, and I told you this, the walkout is going to be must see for me. Must see.
Can't wait.
I have some people coming out with me that in this particular genre, you're going to think you're going to be absolutely blown away by. So I got some good people in my corner and some good people that'll be involved. So I'm excited about it.
Nice. Perfect timing. Hold on.
Hey, Joe.
Any of the horsemen, if they're below, drop in the link because we're going to get to the Q&A and the expansion portion of the program. So, okay. So let me ask you this. In terms of your nemesis, RB, has he been quiet during this journey towards you fighting, or is he kind of throwing digs? Because he never had a public beef with you, right? Like the one thing is, I understand. I don't think he publicly roasted you, right? It was more like
I've never met him. I've
never
never met him. Yeah, I've never spoke to him. I've called him out, but he'll hang up if it's ever on the phone. Tom, I'm going to tell you now, and I'll tell anyone that will hear this. If I win, it's going to be a real bad night for him. I promise you, because that interview after the fact, I'm not letting anything.
Let me ask you a question, and I don't mean. I typically like to disclose this before, but we're big boys and we can chat like gentlemen. Do you know his friend Fun A by chance?
Oh
yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, I know Slim. I know all those guys.
Yeah. I've never met Rico. I don't know Slim. I just know Fun A.
They actually had a funny. So this is funny actually. So last Christmas, they had Dave, Big Cat, and him do a podcast.
Yes, that's why I figured how you know.
So they came in as elves, Fun A and Slim, and there was talk of they wanted me in the big box that they brought in, and I was just gonna pop out.
Oh my God! Why, Jeff? You should have did it.
It'll happen. It's all gonna listen. The problem that he has is with this fight, nobody cares what he thinks now. We're not gonna not do things because he's around. Yeah, I'm gonna be up there, and I think for me, like I don't know how I would react to seeing him, just because he's really done a lot of shit to me. Shit that on the street, he'd have a big problem with. Like he's really affected my certain things for me. He's had people, troll me, say horrible things about my family. He's really done some fucked up shit. So it's he'll have to deal with me soon. But if I win, I'm not letting anything hang. I'm going.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on it because I want to focus on the positivity and your stuff though. But if you had to guess, if you had to take a wild guess what his beef is with you, what do you think it is?
Well, look, his beef with me is that he knows that I'm a real gambler. He knows that I have the ability to do content. I mean, no thing was more clear when I was hired there. I was hired to do college basketball. I was green-lighted a podcast to talk about college hoops. And a week later, he creates his own college hoop show. So he's threatened by what I can do. There's no other thing. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. There's nothing that he knows about me. He just doesn't like people that may threaten his spot. So
but the one thing though, we're gonna have Joe pop in. The one thing though is whether people like Jeff Nadu or hate Jeff Nadu, you're like the college basketball guy. Like that, isn't that your lane? Like that's like the person who hates you the most. As I understood, you were always like the guru of college basketball.
Yeah, that's something I put a lot of time into. I feel like I have I wouldn't say I have a beautiful mind with it, but I just have a real ability to retain information and do it at a high level. So yeah, I consider myself good at it. Someone mentioned what my walkout song was. I guess I could announce that, right?
Let's do it.
I'll just say this
on the Armchair NBA.
I'll just say this: it's a Frank Sinatra song.
There we go. So speaking,
and it's not my way either.
There you go. Speaking of Frank Sinatra, the smooth man himself, Joe, aka Bay 8. And Joe, no worries, you're on live. We're good.
So I'm with all my family and friends.
That's right.
What's up, guys?
Hello, Joe. What's up?
How are you, sir?
Yep.
So, Joe, you're always pretty good with questions. We're going to do a few questions with you. If any other the four horsemen are out there, as well as anybody who wants any questions, or even maybe wants to jump on if we know who you are. So, what are your thoughts of Mr. Nadu and his upcoming fight, and any questions that you may have?
Man, I think it's good. I mean, it takes cojones to get into the ring. I'll tell you that much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have-
No, and
have you-
I don't know what to expect. So we'll
Yeah.
prepare and do the best we can. But yeah, I think, I kind of try to tell myself I won't be nervous, I'll be good. But again, I don't know anything about my opponent really. So you're right. It's I'm just going to try to prepare myself and put a lot of work in, and I think I'm going to be fine. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You got to use that nervous fear to kind of like, to your advantage.
Yeah,
And just
100%.
make sure you just got to, the thing is always keep your hands up.
Oh yeah.
You
That's
know what I
something
mean?
we've been-
Because, a lot of times you don't realize when you drop your hands, that's when you get caught.
Yep. It's
It's natural to drop your hands, but you got to
Yeah.
keep them up high.
Yeah, and we've worked a ton on like defense and just the footwork and the moving out of things, and the trainer I have is really good. He's done a great job. He's really stern and doesn't let me cut corners, and yeah, that's exactly right. Got to keep your hands up.
Another question I would have is the guy you're fighting, is he your size? Is that or is he like bigger or smaller or?
Yeah, so to tail of the tape, I'm right about 5'8", 218, 217. He's 5'3", 5'4", like 180.
So you okay, right?
Yeah, a little bit bigger. I don't have, obviously I'm a little, like pretty little. I don't have the longest arms, I don't have, but I think I'll be significantly bigger than him. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you'll do
what
good.
do you think of the show last night? How'd you get on with that?
Oh man.
Crazy.
Honestly, I didn't like it because,
Yeah.
man, there's so many other things going on that we could have wasted 3 hours talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Than just hearing the ranting and raving, and it's just not even worth it. I mean, what did we gain out of that show? Did you walk away from the show and say, okay, this guy means this guy's this? No, you left the show like saying to yourself, like, what the? I mean, like, really? I mean,
I felt like I thought it accomplished a little bit maybe later, but then
yeah, but it kept going back and forth, and like guys would just like throwing underhand jabs. You thought it was good, and then someone would make a comment, a slight comment,
Yeah. It's sometimes you just can't, you can't I mean, even some of those guys, I mean, they weren't even willing to make peace with each other. So,
Well, I will own the fact that I thought, right, we had the four horsemen there. Jeff's kind of been like, we've been texting and stuff, so we kind of knew if we could jump on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, Jeff would jump on. Definitely was an entertainment aspect of it, and it almost was like sensory overload. You had like people on the screen that you never thought like was going to be there. Like I think we were just missing like Sonny Money, but everybody else in the mob universe, in terms of that kind of space, everybody was there, right? So in that context, it was like, wow, me, I've done a lot of negotiations in life. I'm in business, like the rest of us, and I guess I had this naive assumption that I could at least get a starting point for some of the folks, and once you establish a starting point, get them like a little closer to kind of at least mend those fences. So obviously, looks like two of the guys kind of got a little neutral at best, and then the other two just obviously wasn't happening. So Joe, I'll give you that. I think it was a little rough in that sense.
And I also think when if someone has a problem with me and they're going to talk about me, that's fine. I could deal with that.
Be nice, John. Be nice, John. We like Jeff.
But when you start talking about the mothers,
the
wives making, stupid remarks, where's it going?
Well, Joe,
I realized last night that there's no, like, even a lot of the commenters, like you just can't win with a lot of the people. So you just try to do what you can do, try to focus on what you're doing. It's like a simple case. So like my hair, for instance, prime example. So I wear my hair down.
Looks very nice, by the way.
Well, I wear my hair down. You have a wig. I wear my hair up. You have a wig. I wear my hair with gel in it. Like, you can't win with a lot of these people, no matter how many times you tell the same.
I wish
shit.
I had your hair, Jeff.
Yeah, me too.
So it's like, I just don't try to even, like, some of these people are like John. Who's that guy? I don't like. He doesn't know me. It's just some of these people are just they're just mean people, and it's like you can't win with some of them. So you just gotta move on.
Yeah. Well, I thought, like, we're gonna have a little fun, a little banter back and forth. It got taken too far. Like I said earlier, if anybody caught the podcast from the beginning, if not, please watch it. I did apologize to Josie, and I apologize to FBS's wife. There's no excuse for that. Even if I missed it, and even if I didn't know what something meant, it just got a little ugly. And again, that wasn't the intent. The intent was, we were going on in the Four Horsemen. Maybe Jeff pops on. No way did any of us intend for whatever happened to happen, which in a way, organically, it could have been great if we kept out the nonsense. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like too many people that don't like each other. Like when Tony came on, and like I was saying earlier, like with Tony, it's hard to get any sort of words in. He just doesn't want to hear anything.
Yeah.
I don't know Tony that well. I don't, I hope he's okay. All I was trying to do was understand who he was, because for me, like, if you're going to say things about things that you did and you're a part of, I feel like you are going to have to understand people are going to call you out about it. And they're going to say, well, what happened? What'd you do? Da, 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 da. And, with Lee, Lee's always kind of just cooking stuff up, and FBS hates, Tony, and it was bound to get crazy.
Well, let me ask you, Jeff, you've been doing media for a while, right? Like, it's kind of a formula, right? You got like 5 or 6 shows, probably like an ecosystem of roughly 30,000 people, probably commonality of 5 across all of them. So we all benefit by working together. And that was what I was trying to get at, right?
Oh, yeah.
Simple. If I got 8,000 subs, Jeff's got 10, hey, we could bounce off each other. Somebody's got 4. We could help them out. Then
it allows you to network, where I can come on your show, and like if I do an episode on, let's say, someone a ton about, I'd like to have you come on. Like, it's all about networking and people helping each other.
Correct.
Right? I just think the problem is with that is some of these people I don't think you can help. Where like they're not willing to play with the group. They want to be on their own and just make everything a mess. So,
well, I'll give you an example. So, I have a guest-based show. I do some monologues, but mostly guests. I think that's fair to say. And, if Jeff has a great guest, hey, Jeff, can you get me that person? Or Joe may be like, oh, King Tom, you can get me that person. And it's very common for me to ask a favor. Hey, can you go on Jeff's show? Or hey, Joe, I'll get you so-and-so. So you work together, and it's not like you do. And the other part I don't get about like this space is there's almost like if you go on one show, or if you have a guest on one show, they don't want them to go on another. I never, like, there was somebody going on one of the shows. I'm like, oh, can you get them on like my show? Oh, they'll only do one. Like, no, that's bullshit. Like, it's just weird, the dynamic. And I just hope for everybody that they understand media a little better. Because if not, if they don't adapt, they're going to die out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I got, go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Do your thing.
I was saying, like, one thing I got out of it last night was that it's probably not going to go further than the internet.
Yeah.
And one telltale sign of that was at first when you had what's his face, FBS, when he was on, then Tony popped on, he clicked off immediately. Normally, I would say you don't want to see the guy on the TV screen. You probably don't want to see him in person either.
Yeah. Well,
and the other thing is,
yeah, go ahead, Joe.
FBS is not a punk. He's going to stand his ground. I think we got that. And Tony's going to stand his ground. And now it's more than just words. It's a money grab now. I'm trying to take his money. He's trying to take my money. So it's going to go nowhere, though.
Yeah. I will say, and I think I don't think I'm saying anything out of line here, and I actually feel really strongly about this. I really enjoy helping people. I think we all need to do our part to help people. But I got to tell you, I also like when it comes to people that seemingly blame everyone else for their problems. I have an issue with that, and I just think I hope Tony finds some happiness. I really do. I think you will only get one life, and I feel like he's so unhappy. I think he just needs to do his thing and just try to go out and get a job or try to help yourself, and stop blaming everybody else. Stop blaming him. Stop blaming her. Stop blaming them. Just go out and do something. Stop worrying about his subs and his cash apps and whatever. I will say as well, and I thank you guys for it. The one reason I came on, and I'm glad it happened, I've been really disturbed with not, FBS was a friend. I considered him a friend. I was glad we were able to mend, I think, something, him and I, and obviously I talked to you guys, but that's not the general group that I want to be a part of. But I guess it just got kind of crazy and whatever.
Is there a balloon just off your head or above your head?
That's a basketball.
That's Michael Jordan.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe not.
That was the best $3.50 anybody ever spent. Because remember, he paid in pounds. So, all right. So that's the thing, right? So, like, in retrospect, we all slept on it. There's no chance of, like, these guys are all, like, not going to sing Kumbaya. I'm not expecting that. But there's no chance of, like, mutual respect or any type of remediation. I don't think it's happened. What do you guys think?
With Tony and like those guys, I don't think. Like Lee. I mean, Lee said right as we were signing off last night, "Yeah, I'm not going to do a show tomorrow on anybody." And then 12 hours later, he's doing a show with Tony. So it's all about views, And Vinny made a great point. Vinny did a show earlier, and he was talking about how I could do a show on a really great topic and no one will watch. I'll have 20, 30 people. But if I just include interview with so-and-so, I'll have 300 people at 3 a.m. And it's so true. I do videos all the time and I'm like, why don't I get people to watch these? But people watch this guy in his car talk for hours about nonsense. And this is how it is, I guess. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I agree. Also, like I said, hold on, I'm just texting the fiance. The other thing is, again, also, like, I'm embarrassed where, when you do something and something happens and affects somebody negatively or makes somebody feel like, some type of way, that's something I don't want to be a part of. And it makes me even feel worse that was my show. Where's this hate come from? Like, generally hate comes from passion, historically, but like there's some real fucking hate there. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I wonder if, like, FBS, if he just never said that Tony's name again. What is he going to do, Tony? Keep talking about him every day? And what is he going to keep saying every day? I think the more that one of them, every time one says one thing, it gives the other one, okay, now I'm going to say this. Obviously, FBS could do other things. He's a talented kid. And so is Tony. He could do other things too, but he chooses to do that. But the more you play into it, it's just going to keep it going. But what I'm saying is this. There's people in the comments saying, no, something's going to happen between them. If it was going to happen between them, it would have happened already. That I could guarantee you of. Because the minute you talk about someone's mom or my wife,
yep.
Bye-bye, show.
Yeah.
I'll give you my address, 767 Beeman Avenue, Staten Island, Beeman and Clove. Joey Muscola. That's my address.
Yep.
Come see me at my house.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's well said.
Just like that, baby.
I've said the same thing. If you have an issue and you're going to come see me.
Come see me.
Knock on the door, stand there, and make sure you have your gun too. I'm not I'm not going to be a punk either. You're not going to just think you can say this and say that. You know, I understand the internet and it's a lot of fun. Sometimes people make jabs. People talk about hair and shit, whatever. But you start talking about people's wives.
Oh,
mother,
forget it, man.
I don't care if his wife is there. I think it's cool that his wife cares about him and what he's doing. Like, I think that's cool for someone that is not married or doesn't have a girl. Like, I think it's cool that she cares about what he does. They seem like they have a good marriage. I think that's cool. For someone to come and talk about people that have nothing to do with this shit is vile. I think it's vile. And his behavior, the way he talks to people, he blames everyone else for his problems. Everyone. It's never his fault on anything he does. He can't get a job because all the liberals have the job. No, go knock on a hardware store's door and try to get a job. It's that simple.
I mean, he's a smart guy. I mean, he's not an idiot. None of the guys are idiots. But I guess it's just he's got his people behind him and they're feeding into it. And when you listen to people, they're sending messages, he said this, he did this. I got your back 100%. Here's $12. You know what I mean? People are just like going, it's like, it's ridiculous, really.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like I get the banter and it makes for good content. But like I said, when you introduce, spouses, mothers, that kind of stuff. And then also like going offline. I mean, it's 2021, right? Like I remember one time, I'm not going to give details because I don't want to get 100 different whatever. But I did an interview of a wise guy and then got a lot of messages that weren't so positive to the point they reach out to the camera guy. Because, back then I was a little more Instagram heavy. Hey, I'm interviewing so-and-so. And, and on the filming, we worked out a deal. Like he reduced his rate in order to get credit. So like it's done by so and so. Like people from the family messaged the videographer. The videographer's like, "What's going on?" So I'm not gonna lie, I was a little worried. This was I was newer to the game. So I called somebody I knew and I trusted. I said, "Listen," I said, "I'm a little nervous here. The friggin' videographer's flipping out. I'm uncomfortable. I never had anybody reach out to me before. It's a pretty well-known name." And he goes, "Don't worry. Be worried about the people that aren't messaging you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah."
So he goes, "If they're messaging you, you're good. If you do that and you get no messages, that's when you got to worry."
I think, Joe, you guys all know, okay, if you're in that life, okay, and you got a beef with somebody, you're not gonna call and go on the internet and say,
"Of course,
to you." Like, you're just gonna go. You're not gonna hear a fucking word. That it's like that simple. And I tried telling Tony, I tried asking him that last night, what is the end game here? You're really going to catch a charge over this guy you hate? You're really going to catch a charge, an interstate charge, a federal charge over state lines to the internet? Are you really going to catch that for this?
But here's the other thing. Yeah. So I have a wife, right?
Yeah.
You talk about my wife. You see me on the screen, right? I'm here. I'm a punk. I'm nobody. I'm weak. Mm-hmm. How do you know who her father is?
Yeah.
How do you know who her brother is? How do you know who her uncles? You're talking about someone. It might be out of my hands at that point because they might hear it and they say, "Okay, they're threatening to hurt my daughter. Okay, here's what we're going to do now. Joey, you sit back, do your thing. We'll take care of this." So be very careful. My father told me when I met him, he said, "I punched an old man. I didn't realize who he was. They put me in the hospital for 19 days. Mm-hmm. His sons came back." Mm-hmm. And he said, from that point on, in Bensonhurst, you just don't put your hands on someone, old man. Just be careful who you're whistling at. You see a girl walking down the street, be very, very careful.
Let me ask you guys.
Well said.
Let me ask you guys a kind of, this makes for good content. This is something I would ask for you guys offline, but let me ask it online, right? And don't beat me up in the comments. Be constructive, right? So how do I navigate this now where I genuinely feel Tony needs help, whether or not he admits it or not, right? Warm bed, shower, shave, the whole bit, right? Now, he also did some really crappy things. would it be fair to say if he committed to maybe less banter about or no banter about certain like extenders like family and stuff? Is it okay to still help him, or if you're helping him, you're supporting him? Because like I'd like to help the guy.
Well, I think I've said, and I'll say it, I hope he finds some happiness. I really do. I think it seems like he's hurting. It seems like he's sad. He doesn't have a lot of people that are there for him.
Compton? This is Compton right here, my friend.
I
got brothers from Compton. That's why I got the hat on.
I just feel bad for him, I guess. I don't, but I also will say, like, he's not helpless. Go out and help yourself, man. Stop. My dad always told me about excuses, man. You can make excuses all you want, but again, you got to wake up. You got to do your thing. You got to have your life. I guess I just don't get it. I guess go out and help yourself.
Get him a cash shop if you help him. Can't go on try. No, that's my point. So I jumped on. I did jump on.
No,
him, Tom. That's good. Thank you. I appreciate that, Rob. No, so I'll give you an example. So I jumped on Lee's podcast. What happened was I jumped on. FBS was having a show, kind of a recap. I was watching some of that. I think he was getting a fair assessment, being reasonable, and then what's his name? Lee Cole was having it, and the numbers were high for him. So like, well, why is Lee Cole's numbers high? And Tony Pizza's on. So I wanted to kind of reconcile a few things, right? Because in the morning he did it live saying the NBA sandbagged me. I gave a quick note, say, hey, listen, it wasn't my intention to sandbag you. So I jumped on. We got into chatting, and I said, listen, are you willing to accept help if you need it? And like, what are the basics, right? Maybe a place to stay for short term. Maybe get hooked up with an opportunity. I can't get you a cash job. You got to pay tax. Like there's things that like I can't do everything, right? But like I think as the Four Horsemen and the Mohawk and Jeff Nadu, we could probably find a way to help this guy out. So, but then the same token, afterwards, that's when I heard about that. Josie was obviously really upset, and that also I did speak to FBS. I don't want to discuss the specifics of the conversation with them personally. If you want to talk about it publicly, I would. But since it's talking about it personally, so what I want to do is I want to navigate correctly. Where I think I want to find a way to help him, but it's got to be in a way that helps, like, kind of de-escalate this stuff. Do you guys think that's possible?
Well, I think he needs. I'm just gonna say it. I mean, he's got to stop making excuses. He's got to go out and he's not old. Like, he's an older guy, but he's not a senior citizen.
Yeah.
He's got to start with you got to get a job. You got to get yourself into some kind of hotel. And look, maybe he wants to live the way he does, but I think for me, like, it's sad that he has to live that way. I feel like maybe he just needs someone to help him. And who am I to judge him, I guess? And I always kind of say that, if you'll give someone money, they say, why are you going to give them money? They'll just go out and buy drugs with it. It's like, well, it's not my job to judge, whatever. Yeah. I guess I would just hope that they do good with the money. I don't know. I mean, maybe a situation where he gets a certain amount every week and he's got to, you got to get him a room. I don't know. I don't know what to say, really.
Well, that's why it's a tough one because, again, I'm not knocking anybody, but we all went last night to sleep in our beds in our homes, and he seems to be okay with it. But listen, I and my fiance and I were discussing earlier. We're like, listen, this whole mob stuff is kind of getting out of control. I'm a podcaster. I'd like to have Jeff on. I want to have Jeff on. I don't want somebody telling me you can't have so and so on now because Jeff came on, and vice versa. If I had so and so on, I'm just not going to play that game. It was my effort to try to reconcile things. I don't think it's possible at this point. Like I said, and I did apologize to those that we offended or I might have offended by not policing it better. And then on top of it, I'm going to apologize personally. So, Jeff, if you can get me, do you have Josie's information? Privately?
Yeah, I can get you connected with her.
Yeah, she did say in the messaging, I said, hey, can Jeff or whoever connect us? She did approve that. So I'm not like being creepy, like, hey, But privately, if you could send over info, I'd like that.
Yeah, I think as well, and I think the good thing about Vinny and Joe and you and like I think at this point I'm okay with everyone. I'm on decent terms with all these people. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna kind of try to continue to do my own thing. But yeah, it's a muddy water sometimes.
So let me ask you this though. Whether we like it or not, the numbers were good yesterday. The average watch time together was an hour. That's unheard of in the YouTube world. It's unheard of.
That is crazy.
And I couldn't get tomato head. No offense, Jeff. I cannot get tomato head out of my face, out of my vocabulary today.
I'm trying to think where that comes from.
Or pineapple.
Yeah, he does have some funny like old school one-liners. I'll give him that.
But that's the thing, though. If he channeled his energy correctly, is it redeemable?
Yeah, I think if he wasn't such a mean guy, probably. Like if he just if he truthfully has and that's the thing with the stories that he has. Like if he's going to talk about these stories, he's going to have people that are going to say well, what happened? How did it all end? How are you in the situation you're in now? I think all of it's compelling shit, and he should maybe talk about it. Plus, he also said stuff like, I can't talk about stuff. And it's well, it was 20 years ago. I mean, hopefully, God forbid you didn't capitally hurt somebody, but
yeah,
I mean, all that stuff's past. I mean, if he robbed a store, who cares? What did you do? And if he doesn't want to talk about it, he doesn't want to talk about it. But I hope he finds some happiness. I really do.
Yeah.
If he needs help, he'll know who to go to if he needs help.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just not looking for that right now, and you can't force anything on him. So
thank you, Viking.
That's right.
So we're going to be wrapping up soon. I'm going to do a shorter one tonight because yesterday was a marathon and a half. Questions from the field for Jeff before we wrap up.
And then you can ask everybody. All right.
Yeah, and then Jeff, I still don't get. I can't. I'm sorry. You shouldn't laugh at that. That's a really bad. To call somebody that's a rough one. But is that the coffee guy?
Yeah.
I don't mean. Please look mad at me for laughing. What the hell does that mean? Is that
It's kind of a thought that he's touchy with the wrong people, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. He's an older guy. I don't know. He's definitely an interesting guy, the Mob Show. I don't, he has his people he hates as well.
Well, interesting. He was super neutral, and again, kind of innocuous, if you will, kind of centered, not whatever. And then it seemed like he kind of jumped on the side. No.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't like Lee Cole. I know that, and he doesn't like Tony either. So,
but here's what I don't get. It seems like sides have developed, but they are very gray-ish, and they're always moving. So if we had a kind of, I've gotten that other Tom Green before, yes. If we had a kind of pigeonhole, which we don't want to, but for the sake of discussion, right? Sake of discussion. If there were sides, right? It seems like, you've got Jimmy. That's what I don't understand. You have Sammy kind of at the head, right? And you have Jimmy Calandra's aligned with him, right? And then FBS seems to be cool with him, right? So that seems like kind of that faction, right? But then yet Tony is friendly with Sammy. So that part I don't get. Wouldn't you almost be oh, okay,
and Lee hates Sammy, and Tony is cool with Lee. It's
and then also he always butchers his name, but he's also appears not to be a fan of Calandra.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
And Calandra's cool with Sammy, and Sammy's cool with Tony. It's yeah.
But then also, as I understand, Josie, Uncle Ben, I saw Al. I don't think it's his name, Al. And then Stax is kind of against Lee, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know much about that kid.
They had his son on.
Who did?
I think Stacks. I like Stacks. I happen to like Stacks.
He had his son on. Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I think the son like wanted to just like kind of clear his name. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know.
But what I'm saying is, when does it get like I'm getting the plug soon. When does the like bringing family into it? Like I like Stacks, but he's a little out there with his guests. I think he admits that. When your show's smaller, you have to kind of do some stuff to kind of get it going. But I don't know about having somebody's son on, especially kind of unsolicited. Please say
I think the son reached out to him though.
Oh, do you still have him on though, guys?
I wouldn't know, but
Whose son came on?
Lee's
Lee's.
Cole's son.
How old is that kid?
I think
He's an adult?
like
I think
30 maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, he's an adult. Okay, I thought he was a young kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's like 30, I think.
How can you not have, he couldn't force the guy on.
Yeah, I guess the kid like wanted to clear his name, and I don't know, but it's not
I'm
something
sure
I
he
would-
gets some nice messages. Lee.
Yeah, they have the same name too. He's like Lee Cole the Fourth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like I said, I may be looking at this the wrong way. I'm trying to find the good in people and how I can attach myself to people, and then not overlook, but say, you know what, maybe you were a bad person, you're a good person now. Try to find how I can attach, to that person, and that's what I'm trying to do. I can't apologize for, because if we all judge each other for our younger lives, then none of us would ever get it. You know what I mean? So we're gonna I wouldn't go on any of them shows if I was somebody. He's actually a very good point. Good job, Rob. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. So Joe, give your parting thoughts, and then Jeff, I'd like for you to promote whatever you want to promote, the podcast as well as the R&R.
I just want to say thank you to all the listeners, in the chat, commenting, the nice words of support, and moving forward, this stuff, we're not even gonna entertain that anymore.
Yeah, agree.
There's so many things that we have going on. There's so many other things to talk about. So much going on in the world, the mob world, the whole thing. To waste time, it's not even worth it. But thank you guys.
Yeah, Jeff.
Well said. Yeah. So thanks for having me, Tom. Always good talking to both you guys. Yeah, just stay sucker free. I don't know what else to say. Check out my show, The Sit Down. We did Operation Donnie Brasco. That's a show we did this week. That's about it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. And that's a wrap. Have a good one, guys.
All right, talk to you.